Hey guys, Triple T Cat here, recording for the Zombie Arcade. As per always, this is going to be my review, an initial review. I may do another review later when I've played this more even, but an initial review of Sunless Sea, what I think of the game. I've played it for about 7 hours. There's still a lot of stuff I have not seen and done. There's a lot of the Untersee I have not yet explored. I've never been to the surface. I'm still using the starting ship. I think the only thing I've upgraded on it is the cannon. And I've yet to die, so like there's this whole thing with errors. I'm not even fully sure how any of that stuff works, because I haven't died yet, so I don't fucking know. This game's really cool. I think probably the best place to start with this review is if you have no idea what this game is, what you're looking at. Sunless Sea is, I describe it as being an RPG, I suppose, if I had to put it into a genre. It's a little bit hard to classify because it definitely has strong RPG elements, but it also kind of feels like a survival horror game to a certain extent. There's a lot of resource management. In fact, the game is, most of the actual gameplay revolves around resource management and exploration and stuff like that, which is very survival horror-y. But the basic premise is London, for some reason, is now underground in a place called the Untersee, which is this big underground ocean, I guess. I read a little bit into the lore, but I don't know all the deets, but that's the basic premise. And you are a captain on the Untersee, and you have no particular, like, there's not really a main storyline. You choose a goal for your captain's life, and it's really sort of a true role-playing game in the sense that you're trying to achieve your character's goal, and it's very sandboxy. So it's not, well, I mean, I guess some people would think that less RPG-y, there being not a main plot, and the plot of the game more being defined by what happens to you. And so the game really hinges on whether or not what happens to you is interesting. And as it happens, it is interesting. You have to be willing to read a lot, because all the events and stories and stuff in the game, and all the stuff that happens, is relayed to you pretty much all through flavor text. I mean, you have these gorgeous graphics, obviously, really sort of atmospheric music and stuff like that. The presentation's great, but the actual narrative content of the game is completely relayed to you through text. So you have to be willing to read a lot, but the writing is excellent, so that's okay. That's okay. It's very sort of evocative. I find myself getting really immersed in the game, which is really good. It's good when you're getting immersed, like immersed under some kind of sea. Yeah, so I mean, with all that being said, I really like the game. It comes strongly recommended. There are certain people I wouldn't recommend it for, though. It's definitely quite a sedately paced experience. There are moments of tension, and there's this kind of, like, lurking, creeping dread, but I've generally found it, yeah, like, it's a fairly sedately paced game. There's not a lot of action and excitement and stuff like that, and so people who don't want something like that, and people who don't want to have to read a lot, I guess, are people who I wouldn't recommend this for. But if you're somebody who wants a really sort of immersive game where you can really get lost in it, you have to use your imagination, you know, the same as when you're reading a book, you know. The writing's good, and it helps you a lot, but you do still have to be prepared to engage your own imagination and shit to really. So if you don't want to do that, don't play it, I guess. But for the rest of us who aren't Neanderthals, game comes strongly recommended. I have very little to complain about. I've noticed some bugs here and there, and that's about it. So like I think this is the kind of game where if you're the right kind of person, the right kind of gamer, I would really strongly recommend it. And yeah, that'd be the kind of person who is open to a slower, more sedate, more immersive kind of experience. It's definitely very much story-driven, although there's still quite a lot of gameplay to be had here. This is not a non-game like some narrative-driven games we've been getting lately are. There's a lot of... I think I already went over this. There's plenty of gameplay to be had here. It's not just like a reading simulator 2015 or anything like that. It's a boat captain simulator 2015, actually, which is not the same thing, although there is a lot of reading. The only thing that I sort of feel about is I feel like the level of tension and fear should be higher. Like I said, I've been playing for about 7 hours, and I haven't died yet, which... I don't know, like, considering I see all this stuff about, like errors, and, like, the game was, like, your first captain will probably die, and I don't know, I just assumed I'd be dying a lot more than I am. This is actually, I happened to capture in the video one of the worst things that's happened to me so far, which is my boat catching on fire while I was in combat. It just hasn't happened until now. I got close to running out of fuel once. Like, when you're really close to running out of fuel, you can see the options that you have to refuel when you're stranded, and none of those are pretty good. None of those are that pleasant necessarily, but I actually happened to have a way out of that, so even if I had run out of fuel, that would have been fine. I've never run out of supplies. I think the highest my terror ever reached, as I understand it, bad things happen when your terror gets really high. The highest mine's gotten was 75, which was a little bit stressful, but not that big a deal. The lowest my hull has gotten is around 30 out of 75, which, again, like, that's not great. I once lost a bunch of my crew, but that was when I was in port, an event that happened at port, and I was able to refill my crew at that port before leaving, so, like, that was fine, too. I'm not sure if I've just been absurdly lucky, though, because other reviews and stuff I've read have said, like, I think the game... Like, people saying I think the game will be too hard for many and stuff like that, and I talked to my sister about it, who also has the game, and she was saying she'd been having a hell of a time, but like I said, my personal experience, that's all I really have to go on to base this review on, is just that I feel like the game should be a bit harder. I felt like it's been... fairly low stress when, like, the atmosphere is wonderful, and I just feel like it could be a little bit more stressful and oppressive if the challenges were a little bit more challenging. But like I said, I get the impression from other stuff I've read that I've just been exceptionally lucky, or maybe I just have a particular knack for games that are largely focused around resource management and risk management. I play a lot of games like that, and I tend to do pretty well in them, so maybe I was just super pro. But, nonetheless, I feel like that's kind of a minor complaint. In fact, I'll go right out and say it. That's a minor complaint. The fact that I found that the level of tension could be a bit higher, that's not a big deal, because I've still had such an... fun is not necessarily 100% the right word, but I've really... gotten a lot of pleasure out of kind of immersing myself into the world of the Untersee and the life of my Z captain. And for anybody else who would like to know what it is like to pilot a steamboat through endless darkness, game comes highly recommended. It's less than $20, so the reason I feel qualified making a review on it when there's so much I still haven't seen is I've seen enough to strongly recommend it. I think it game that costs less than $20, if I get 7 or 8 hours of entertainment out of it like I already have, I think that's okay, provided it's genuinely like a good, enjoyable, good entertainment, and it has been. I've really, really liked it, and I foresee myself continuing to play this for quite a while into the future. So, Sunless Sea, strongly recommended for a certain type of gamer. For others, not so much. But if this seems like something that might appeal to you, absolutely go out there and buy it. Anyway, thanks for watching, as always, and until next time, Trouble T Cat out.